When not teaching, Catherine performs with her company Just Giraffe Theatre, and most recently she performed at the Hamilton Gardens Festival. And her presentation for today is titled The Chicken Dies at the End, Florence Grapples with Reality. So can we give a big hand and welcome Catherine up stage.
Got a photo. So there's a few things I need to get you to help with this. So before we get started, the first thing is a few of you have got something under your chair. These are the adult voices. So if you have a quick look, there are 3 of them. So if you find them, hold it up, make sure we've got all 3. One here. Might have to hunt around the mic to see the chairs. So there should be 3. So if you found one, you can just hold it, wait it up so we can see it. There's one on here. Might need to do it quick. I think there's one here. There's one around about the back. Oh, you stay in the chair. Just stay where you are. You don't need to come up. You can just stay where you are. 1, 2, 3. Okay, we've got all 3. Good. So at some point in my presentation, I will just let you know when we need adult voice number 1, 2, or 3. If you don't feel confident speaking it out loud, just pass it to a friend. We will. The other thing I need everybody to help with are some sound effects. So these are your cues. If I say the word battery chicken, I'd like to hear some battery chicken. So let's test battery chicken. Keep going, keep going. Great, okay. So that's battery chicken. The next one is downtown Hamilton. So let's hear the sound of downtown Hamilton. That wouldn't have happened in Wellington, we wouldn't do that. That's great. And the last one is if you hear the word sad, we need to melancholic. So sad. Use it. Oh, okay. Thank you. So we'll just do another practice. So downtown Hamilton. Battery chicken. And sad. Okay, I think we're ready to go. So, here we are. Once upon a time, there was a farm for battery chickens. Now, this wasn't actually a bad farm. It was, the chickens lived in a barn. They were quite warm, and there was a little door through which the chickens could exit to the outside world, and this meant that the farmer could lay his eggs free range. Though in actual fact, most of the chickens never went outside because the pecking order was so rigid that they were in danger of being pecked by the mother hens whenever they went near the door. So in actual fact, they were barn chickens, but their eggs were laid free range. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, on this farm there was this one chicken in particular called 2367. Now, 2367 had a good life. She laid an egg every day and diligently did what she was supposed to do, pecking about and avoiding the other chickens. Till one day, a young girl called Florence came to visit. Now, Florence lived in downtown Hamilton. And Florence liked nothing more than eggs on toast for breakfast. Well, one day Florence was sitting eating her eggs on toast and she was thinking about a story she'd heard lately. It was called Chicken Licken. Florence used fairy tales and stories to imaginatively recreate her world and develop theories about how things operate in the adult society. Anyway, there she was, eating her eggs on toast. And Chicken Licken had got her thinking, though she didn't actually believe the sky was going to fall. I mean, Tane Mahuta held it up, right? It didn't actually fall. It did get her thinking about chickens, eggs, and the origin of things. So she turned to her father. Dad, she said, Dad, where chickens come from eggs? Well, where do babies come from? Her father was a well-educated man, and he didn't really know how to answer, so he decided to do something otherwise, and that's when Florence heard adult voice number 1. So to educate Florence about the ways of the world, her father took her to a farm of battery chickens. But, when they got there, Florence greatly admired the farmer, and she saw a lovely ute in the front, and that was quite cool. And they went into the barn, and Florence had never seen, nice, healthy, free-range chickens, so she thought these chickens were amazing. And then she noticed the wings on the chickens. Florence had never seen wings on a chicken before. She didn't really know what they were called, so she asked the farmer, "Can these chickens fly?" The farmer said, "No, these chickens can't fly. These chickens have had their wings clipped. For their own safety, you see, that they'll never fly, ever. They're just useless chickens. Chickens in the wild once upon a time could fly, but chickens in the wild? Are there such a thing as wild chickens?" "Well, yes," said the farmer, "there are. They originated from Southeast Asia somewhere. Apart from, being kept in a cage, these chickens are essentially the same as their ancient counterparts." "In fact," said the farmer, "did you know that the modern-day domestic chicken is the nearest living relative to the Tyrannosaurus Rex?" "What? The Tyrannosaurus Rex? You're kidding! That's amazing!" So there was Florence, admiring 2367. She did feel a little bit sad. She did feel a little bit sad that poor old 2367 would never fly, but nonetheless, she understood that 2367 was a working chicken. Therefore, her job was to produce the eggs that were so loved at breakfast time. And just as she said that, 2367 did a remarkable thing. She hopped around a few times and "You can keep that," said the farmer. "It was a real egg." "Catch?" "Okay, I'll just eat it myself then." "Oh, no. So, Florence went back home to downtown. A few days later, she was at kindergarten. She was sitting, painting a box brown. When along came the teacher. "Kate Mari, please. Good work, Florence. What are you doing there?" "Oh, I'm just making a ute." "A ute? How do you know about utes? We're in downtown Hamilton." "Well, you see, I went to a battery chicken farm the other day. There was a ute and the farmer had one." "Well, Florence, don't you think it needs, some wheels or something? I mean, it's just a box painted brown. Maybe you can put some bottle tops on, or another trailer or something like that." "Oh, come on, teacher, it's not real." "Oh, okay." Later that same day, some other children were busy in the sand. They were making a volcano. "Oh, what are you doing? That looks great." We're making a volcano." "Oh, good work, Tamaki. Great." Florence, in the meantime, was standing up on the chair. She was holding on to a big ruler. "Florence, fallen. Oh, but what about the ruler? Oh, is that what this thing is? I never knew. Well, I'm just measuring to see if I've got any taller, because yesterday I couldn't reach and now maybe I can. Would you like me to measure you? No thanks. In the meantime, how's that volcano going? Stand back! It's going to interrupt! Do you think you mean... Do you think... No. Later that same day, it was a very busy day. Later that same day, children were gathered around on the mat, expectantly. Now, sit still, Florence, sit still. Now, tell me, who can tell me about their weekend? I went to a run for battery chickens. Yes, I think we've heard about that before, Florence. Anybody else? Yeah, me. I went to see a theatre show about this guy, and there was these big, huge dinosaurs, and they were eating all the little dinosaurs. And I liked the show, but it was a little bit scary. A little bit scary? But what? That wasn't a real dinosaur, was it? Well, no, it wasn't a real dinosaur. It was just a costume thing. Well, then, if it wasn't real, how come you were scared? Well, because it ate a man. Oh, I see. I can see how that would be scary. So what you were saying, then, is that when you watched the show, you were able to enter the fictional world through developing an empathetic relationship with the characters. I'm not sure we can... you see, there is this well-known theatre theorist named Shripa Shonen, and she says that if young children such as yourselves cannot distinguish between reality and delusion, then instead of the thrill of fear when you watch a scary scene, you will actually be afraid. Okay. In other words, if the dinosaur you watched was too realistic, then instead of a mere thrill, you might take flight and hide under your chair. Is that what you did? Did you hide under the chair? No. Oh, good for you. So, anyway, what you say that what you've just described is that you knew full well that it was not a real dinosaur, and yet you were still afraid. This thrill of fear described is a process known as aesthetic distance. It is the idea that when we watch a play or a film or even a puppet show, what do you mean a puppet show? Never mind, Florence. When you watch a play or a film, what you are watching is make-believe. You know it is make-believe, and therefore the emotion you feel is not a real emotion, but rather a quasi-emotion, directed towards the characters. You yourself, however, are immune from it, safe from a good distance. Okay. Now, you see, there's another branch of aesthetic philosophers who argue the opposite. They say what you feel is indeed a genuine emotion, because your pulse quickens, your sweat runs, and you feel fear just as you would towards your own family and friends, towards the characters. So, take for example a well-known example. When we see the regret at the end of Richard Attenborough's face in Jurassic Park, we see that he feels sad, his eyes are welling up, his pulse is quickening, and we too feel sad. So, you see, it is a genuine emotion. Emotions are contagious. When you look at someone who is happy, it is very hard not to feel happy yourself. Now have a go. Turn to the person next to you, and one of you frown and one of you smile. Go on, frown. I want to see frowns. Frown. You see, it is very hard not to smile when those around you are smiling. And that is how emotional contagion works. But what about the dinosaurs, miss? Oh yeah, the dinosaurs! That's where we were. Fantastic. All right, dinosaurs. Now, what else happened in the weekend, guys? Well, I made a giant jam sandwich to trap bees in it. Did you really, Florence? Yeah, a giant one. It's huge. It's big oven, as big as a house, as big as a building. Are you sure you haven't been reading a book, Florence? You know, that book, The Giant Jam Sandwich by John Vernon Lord? Maybe. Yes, it's a good book, isn't it? You see the villagers make a giant sandwich and then the bees fly down and get stuck in it. It's really great because bees love jam, don't they? Yeah, bees love jam. Do you know bees also love honey? actually make honey? Really? Yes. Really? Yes. Does that mean they also make marmite? Not really, Florence, but I do like your logic. You see, what you have done is a great example of assimilation. You have incorporated your new knowledge into your old knowledge. Do you know what I'm talking about? A little bit. Well, you see, it's the idea that bees have something to do with honey. Honey is a delicious sandwich spread like jam and marmite, and therefore it is perfectly logical that bees also make jam or marmite. Now, sit down, children. I'm going to tell you a story about the man named Mr. Piaget. Mr. Piaget was a well-known psychologist. Some of you may have heard of it by the sound. He spoke at length about assimilation, specifically the brain of the developing child. Now, you see, when children learn new things, and when all people learn new things, they must incorporate them, or to use Piaget's word, assimilate them into their existing schema about the world. Now, Mr. Piaget also spoke about fantasy, but what he said was that fantasy is merely a stage children must pass through on the way to rational adult society. His compatriot, Mr. Vygotsky, took kind of view. Fantasy is the most important thing in childhood. It is that which fills in the gaps, Mr. Vygotsky said. In play, and I quote, in play, a child is always above his average age, above his daily behavior. In play, it is as though he were a head taller than himself. Now, more recently, neuroscience has begun to look at this fantasy business, the imagination, and realizing that it is the one thing that separates us human beings from our animal companions. Paul L. Harris has written in his book, The Work of the Imagination, that it is the development of the imagination that separated us from the apes 50,000 years ago. When we create, we transform the known into the imaginary, and vice versa. When we turn a box into a ute, it is still a box, but it takes on a whole new existence. It has a dual existence. It is a box stroke ute, to use the neuroscience term. A well-known example. Now, this is known as cognitive blending theory. The most well-known example of cognitive blending theory, which is basically the idea that you can hold in mind one thing while knowing another. A well-known example is a man who buys a lottery. Now, think of this man. He goes on Tuesday to buy a lottery, right? For 5 days, he hopes and imagines about the dream he's going to live, the life he will lead, the car he will buy, the holidays he will go on, the house he will have. His dream, his life is filled with this brand new, wonderful life. He knows, at the same time, that his chances of winning are very, very slim. Yet he holds in mind one thing, while knowing another. This is cognitive blending theory. The idea that in fantasy, things have a dual existence. When you make a volcano in the sand, you know that it is sand and water. Yet your brain has told you that it is now rocks and lava. You see, it can be two things at once. This is cognitive blending theory, children. Wake up, Florence! What were you saying? Oh, is there a volcano? Where? Okay. So, but anyway, what does this have to do with dinosaurs? Well, you see now, did you know that some dinosaurs eat other dinosaurs? Yeah, I do, it's really cool, like the Tyrannosaurus Rex eats lots of other dinosaurs. Now, there are also some animals that eat other animals. Can anyone think of one? Animals that eat other animals. Anyone? Lions. Sharks. What? Something's down here. I said, humans? Oh, well, you've got me there. You are right. We humans, we do eat other animals. Like, chickens and the like. Chickens? We don't eat chickens. What, not real chickens, not chickens that live on farms, not chickens that eat eggs. We don't eat those. I think we might leave it there. Go and wash your hands for lunch, comedy, huh? Great, okay. Okay. Florence faced with a dilemma. On her plate, there was a couple of potatoes, a lovely handful of peas, and 2 chicken drumsticks. For some reason, Florence just didn't feel hungry. She felt ever so sad. At that very moment, 237 was tucked up in her coop, ready for a good night's sleep. When, all of a sudden, a dinosaur stormed the chicken coop! 237 was about to be eaten when her wings flew out over the world. The next morning, at kindergarten, Florence looked up to see a chicken flying across the sky. Teacher, there's a chicken flying through our kindergarten! Oh, come on, Florence, that's just a puppet. A puppet? Do you mean to say I'm not a real girl? And that's when Florence heard adult voice number 3. Never lose hold of your dreams, Florence. Oh, we forgot adult voice number 2. Is adult voice number 2 not here?
Dinosaurs do not exist.
Dinosaurs do not exist, and never lose hold of your dreams. And so it was that Florence learned about the world through a process of make-believe, movies, and fiction. And that is the end of how Florence